Reed. Mr. Reed.
I want to thank you all for coming out. And when you look to see that you have 15 candidates for mayor, that lets you know that we are concerned about our city. We know that Jackson is the capital of Mississippi. And we must gain our reputation back, our respect, and how we go about doing that. We must continue to work on crime. We must bring back all our businesses back to Jackson. We must realize that we cannot do this overnight. It didn't get like this overnight. It's going to take some time to get out of this. It's going to take everybody working together. It's going to take togetherness, unity. We're going to start in our homes. We must educate our children. And we must continue to fight crime. All this sensitive killing. It's got to stop. I know about that. My son was murdered. Sensitive. We've got to stop all of this black-on-black killing. We must all work together. It's not a black issue, it's not a white issue, it's our issue here in Jackson. We must all come together and work together to try to solve all of these problems that we have.
Thank you, Mr. Reed. Mr. Wilson.
First, I want to thank everyone for coming out. What I like to say, my motto of my business is what we need for our city. We took abandoned, vacant building, and we turned it into a multi-million-dollar center for young people. And we constantly say we don't have enough for them to do, but we have something to do with Genesis and Light Center. And we need to do more work to have more centers and put more money into our community. We hear a lot of people here talking, but it's time for service. No one's bringing service to our community. And the service I done brought out and help hundreds of thousands of young people to resist drugs and stay out of trouble and not become a statistics. And I've worked with, and the building we have is not just for kids. We have hosted many events for the community. It's open for the community as well, giving access and workshops to parents and as well as giving places for our senior citizens to have as well. So I have over 20 years of being the voice for the voiceless and being to help those who are helpless. Being a defense for the needy is encouraging those who have been discouraged. So as mayor, I want to fulfill the late Mayor Ramuma's mandate of fixing the street, but I'm not only going to fulfill his mandate, I want to invest and do my own, which is investing in people, places, and things. You all are great citizens, and all we have been doing is taxing you all. So now it's time to invest back into you all. Starting with pay raises for our city employees. And before my mayor is over with, being a mayor is over with, it'll be an investment into each and every one of our citizens here. We're going to market our business here and highlight them right here in Jackson. We're going to bring new business to Jackson. And we're going to stop sweeping under the rug the things that have hindered us, that stopped us from being that great city. The high property taxes, the high tags, vehicle tags, our crime. We're going to address those issues. Our education deficiencies, as well as the lack of opportunities when we do graduate. We graduate, a lot of people graduate from Jackson State, but they got to go to other places because we don't have the opportunities right here. And economic development will be their plan.
Thank you, Mr. Wilson. Mr. Priestley.
Thank you. Let me begin by thanking the organizers of tonight's event. Let me thank you for being here. It has been a true pleasure to be here tonight. My first job ever was working up the street at the Stew Pot, serving kids in the after-school program. I love West Jackson. I love Jackson. That we've got more work to do than we have ever done before. I am committed to listening to the people. That's something Democracy and listening to the people, that's more than a platform. That is a principle that's 2,000 years old. And I'm committed to doing that because I grew up in Jackson. I've had a business here in Jackson. I've seen where this city is, and I've got a vision as to where it needs to go. We are sitting on more than any city in Mississippi. We're on the confluence of, we were where I-55 and 220 meet. We have an airport. No other city in the state of Mississippi has that. We have a teaching hospital. No other city in the state of Mississippi has one of those either. We have the tools to be a world-class city. And I am sick and tired of us not being a world-class city. I promise you, we're going to do something different. We are going to bring the tools for economic development that focuses on the small businesses. We've been talking about Ferris Street and how some people want to fire the people on Ferris Street. We've already fired the people on Ferris Street. That's what we did when we kicked out David Watkins. It's time for us to focus on you and you and you and all of the people in our neighborhoods and the small businesses and give them an opportunity to take over Ferris Street. Give the folks in Midtown and these other neighborhoods that have been building things with nothing, give them some of the resources and the money, because I am committed to making Jackson better and getting Jackson ahead. So on April 8th, please vote for Melvin Priester Jr.
Thank you. Mr. Horn.
People say, well, what are you going to do about Jackson? As mayor of Jackson, what are you going to do? Well, the best way to determine what a person is going to do is to look at what they've done. You can talk about and say anything. You can say you're going to climb Mount Everest, but if you never climbed the Mole Hill in Mississippi, you can say anything. You can say anything you want. You can say that you're going to do better, even though you've had 3 shots of doing better. You can say anything, but let's look at what you have done. I hope you'll think about it when it comes down to this election. Whether it's taking it upon myself to recruit and develop grocery stores in the community, or housing projects in our community, or passing legislation to build the JSU Parkway, the Telecom Center and Convention Center, the Civil Rights Museum, the new 4-star hotel in downtown Jackson, or whether it's sponsoring and winning legislative approval for the 1-cent sales tax. John Horn has delivered for the city of Jackson for over the past 20 years. The truth is that we're headed in the right direction. We're headed in the right direction, but it's equally true that the wheels can easily fall off without the right leadership. We need to have proven leadership to take over this job, ladies and gentlemen. And as to my priorities, I intend to work with law enforcement to ensure that no visitor and certainly no resident of this city should feel that Jackson is not a safe place to be in. That includes equipping law enforcement officials and agencies with the tools and incentives they need to do their jobs. We've got great employees in the city of Jackson. They also need to be properly rewarded for the work that they do. You can have economic development. You can fix all the streets you want. But if crime is perceived to be or actually real, Jackson will not be successful. I call on you, Jacksonians, to join me as we find our way forward. To join me because we have proven leadership. Join me because we have experience, and join me as we find our way forward. Thank you very much.
I'd like to first thank everyone for, first I'd like to thank the West Central Jackson Improvement Association for hosting this forum tonight. And I'd like to thank all the people in the audience for attending and the questions that were raised. I started this forum by indicating to you that I'm not a politician. Let me inform you who I am. Many of you don't know me because I've been serving from the back, doing what I needed to do as a servant. I was one of the attorneys myself for the Scott sisters, right? I was one of the attorneys who protected the integrity of the first black sheriff's race. My family came here to serve back here in '89. I remember being a part of the demonstrations for Johnny Griffin, who was shot in front of his house because he was trying to get drug dealers out of his neighborhood. I remember doing the demonstrations for Andre Jones, who was hung in jail, and it was stated that he hung himself by a shoestring, right? I provide pro bono work for clients every day, right? Because I was raised on the principle that if you're not first prepared to serve, you're not fit to lead. So that's what I understand. That's what I understand, right? So, I submit to you that leadership should come less out of political ambition and more out of necessity. Over the last couple of days, I've heard a number of people try to recast themselves in order to connect themselves to my father's legacy and understand what his leadership was about. And that's okay, because maybe that means that it's catching on, those principles are catching on, right? But the best person who's prepared to carry forward what Chokwe Lumumba started is someone who's completely invested in those principles, who understands that you have to involve the people in every part of the process in order to properly lead them, right? So we have some critical decisions here in this election, more critical than it was at the time of my father's election. We have the 1% sales tax that has been passed, but people, everybody agreed on that 1% sales tax, but everybody's not going to agree on how it should be spent, and we need leadership who's focused on the people.
Thank you, and again, thanks to our host and to all of you for taking the time out to be here tonight. I believe that Jackson has a beautiful future, and I see it right ahead of us. But I think we need the right leadership to see that dream realized. We must do this with the understanding that every part of our city, every neighborhood, every business, and every person is equally important. We are all Jacksonians. We are all in this together. We are connected, and we must all be a part of the solution. I'm grateful to have served the city for 29 years as a council person, but I'm humbled to be here tonight to ask for your vote for me as mayor of the city of Jackson. Thank you.
I'd truly like to thank all of you for being here, and thank you for enduring this forum, all of the candidates here. We appreciate it so much. A lot has been said, or something has been said about crime in the city. We expected to have more conversation about crime because public safety is very important. But let me submit to you one thing. Let's make sure as we talk about crime that we do not commit a crime. That's the most important thing that we can do as individuals. Together we've built over the last 12 years a foundation. Working together, we built a foundation in this city. Foundation in terms of economic development. Witness the convention center. Has a $25 million annual impact. Some $2.4 million is paid out in terms of salaries. Witness the Equal Business Opportunity Program that we installed. I see some of the people who benefited from that program. We have over $100 million have gone to black businesses here in the city of Jackson because of that program. I see some of the members out there now. In fact, I saw some of them standing with one of my opponents. We are creating a foundation that needs to be built on in this city. A foundation that was created through infrastructure. We spent some $200 million without a sales tax increase, by the way, in terms of fixing infrastructure in the city of Jackson over the last 12 years. We built neighborhood development here in the city. Witness Westland Plaza, the revitalization of Westland Plaza. Witness all of the affordable housing that has taken place in Mid-City, Midtown, South Jackson, West Jackson, Verdon Addition that was supported by this administration. Witness human services, like the Jobs for Jacksonians program, where we've actually hired people, put people to work here in the city of Jackson. We've built a foundation in our city. My commitment to you is to allow me to work on that foundation to make sure that we increase the quality of life here in the city of Jackson. And the city of Jackson can once again operate and fly under the banner, the best of the New South.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you so much.
Mr. Dawes.
Again, we want to thank the West Central Jackson Improvement Association and giving us the opportunity to speak to you, the citizens of Jackson. Let me do something quickly. I want to recognize my mama. Mama, stand up so they can see you. My mama is 67 years old. It's like you, she is everyday people, West Jackson. She owned a one-chair salon in the sub, did not fit in school, married to a man who did not get to graduate from Sumner Hill as a 9th grade student. He is just like you all. I'm just like you. If you are going to say you represent people, you at least need to live where the people are. As we begin to have a conversation about what we're doing in this city, we need to remember that there are people in this city, everyday people like my mama, like folks in West Jackson whose houses are falling in, who need the proper representation. I can't forget you because I can't forget about my mama. This conversation tonight is about who is prepared to lead. You can't give a job to a doctor and you want the doctor to do engineering work. Submit your resume, let the people decide if that resume fits this job description. You're intelligent folks. They don't believe it. Jackson, let's show them.
Thank you, West Central Jackson Improvement Association, for having us here tonight. How many politicians does it take? How many attorneys does it take to move Jackson forward? How many terms does one have to be in office, literally, to get us out of the pitch that we're in? I know most of you all go to church, and we have a prayer life. Hopefully, we have a prayer life. Politics is not going to get us saved. Attorney's wisdom is not going to get us saved. And as it was said, it's the people's choice. I beg to differ. It's God's choice. Many are the plans of a man, but God's purpose will prevail. Signs do not win elections. It's obvious you're trying to clean up Jackson, and you can't even have your workers to put out signs decent enough without polluting corners. Listen, I need you to pray to God for either one of us to get into this seat. But I'll promise you this. If the wrong person gets in this seat, God's going to deal with them as well. Now, I will say this. I thank God for the late mayor, what he's done. He laid a foundation. It's up to somebody now in the spiritual realm to take it just a little bit further. I need your vote, Francis Smith, for mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Before Ms. Quinn gives her closing statement, the organizers have asked me to inform you that there's a few announcements they would like to make, and you just hold on after Ms. Quinn is done. Thank you very much. Ms. Quinn.
Thank you. Thank you again for coming and being a part of this forum. It's extremely important. We're at a critical point within our city right now, and your decision is going to impact you and people to come for generations, I believe. I think that this election really is about four things. It is about the commitment to the people of the city of Jackson. After last year's election, I didn't run off to some other city. I stayed here. I worked with Chokwe Lumumba. I'm not going to step away from him. When he called me the night of the primary and asked me for his support, and I prayed about it, and I talked to my family about it, and I was very reflective. I didn't make a hasty decision, and I stood with him. And I don't believe he would want me to step away from him now. I believe in what Chokwe Lumumba did. It was critical for this city, and I stand by that. I think also this election is about character. It's not just about the ability to do the job, but as been stated so many times, if you don't love the people, you will betray the people. Watch what happens when people are too closely aligned with folks that are not in the best interest of the working class people of this city. Watch out for that. Watch your pocketbook. I promise you, watch your pocketbook. I also believe that this election is about capacity. I have the capacity to do this job. Yes, I'm an attorney, but I am a business attorney. I worked for Jackson State and in the private sector and helped to build the landscape that you see now at Jackson State. I developed the subdivision. I think this is also about the commitment for the compassion, rather, for the people of this city. I've stated numerous times, I love this city. I have a young son, he's at Davis Elementary School. We've got to get this educational system right. But the small business people of this city, these contracts that are coming down the pipe, we've got to make sure that these large companies don't come in, do a dog and pony show, and move them out. They've got to stay involved.
Thank you, Ms. Quinn. Thank you very much. Let us please give the candidates a round of applause. Thank you very much.